language development in a virtual setting. Kind of interesting to think about. So I don't know if I can do the magic.
I can do it, but I believe I can do it. I don't. You might need to stop your share, but I know I can do it.
Share. Okay.
Cool. So we're just going to stick you in groups. You can talk about those questions. Also, if you need to vent a little bit about, how life has been while, what do we call it, socially distanced or sheltering in place, whatever it might be. You can talk about that as well. I'm going to break you into 6 different groups. There should be 4 people in each group. When I hit the breakout room, it'll invite you. Make sure you click that, and then you can head to that room. All right, here we go. Hey, Don, can you hear me? You want to share again, Leslie?
That doesn't sound right.
Is that Dane? Is that you?
I don't think it's me.
Okay.
Oh, it is Kirti. Maybe try logging off and logging back on, Kirti, if you want. Like, leave the meeting and then pop back on through the link. That might help.
I don't know. I kind of like Mr. Roboto being in class.
That was sort of fun, wasn't it?
I was terrified it was me somehow. I don't know. I was messing it up. You never know. All right.
That's over.
Cool. Do we want to share out from that at all? Were there any big takeaways that anybody wanted to share? No pressure to share. It's just a nice way to get thinking of some of the work we did together before, the virus.
It's a good favorite. This is my second one today. Do you want the first sip?
Any thoughts? What we talked about in groups?
In our group, we kind of talked about that whole idea a lot. So,
They're trying to figure out who's... No, I don't think so. Mine says it's muted.
You are not muted, my friend.
I'm
about to message you right now and say you're having a whole private conversation in front of us, my dude. There you go.
So when it says mute, then you click, it'll be mute, and then it'll be unmute. Cool. Awesome.
Now you are unmuted.
I think they were talking about someone else.
No, David, we're talking about you, man.
Or Daniel, yeah.
Or Daniel, yeah, sorry. Cool. All right. Thoughts from the group. Any share outs that you wanted to share out from your group? Like what stuck? What's been sticking with you as you think about it, if you're thinking about it these days?
I'll share. I think a lot of this stuff is applicable to switching online because you're essentially teaching kids a new language for how to navigate the online world.
Wow, that's a great connection. I didn't even think of that.
I didn't either. Josh helped us on that.
Awesome. You're right. It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new thing for you. It's a whole new thing for them. It's going to be uncomfortable for everybody. So I think having grace and keeping it simple will be key. Good point.
So I was sharing that I'm one of the only adults who speak Spanish in my school, which is about 50% Spanish speaking. So even though my subject matter is probably going to be kind of taking the back seat because I teach an elective Spanish, I want to be there to be supportive to my colleagues and also to my kids as sort of that multilingual resource if I can, even if I'm not teaching my class as I traditionally would. Just being there, if something needs translated or somebody needs to vent in their own language or something, just being there and being supportive.
That's a good point.
Will carry us forward.
Thanks for mentioning that elective thing. I was talking to an art teacher earlier today, one that actually we hired to be an art expert, Leslie. She got told essentially your art, we don't have a role for you in online. We're just going all in on literacy and math. So we might have something for you to do later, but we'll see you when we see you. And I don't think they meant it to sound that way, but Lynn took it, our
Yeah, it's
very, very personally, yeah.
well, and also like basically all I've done and all I've been told to do the last couple of weeks is just call families who don't speak English, which is fine. Like I'm glad that I can connect with them, and I'm glad, you know, they all have my phone number and they're texting me and emailing me with questions. But at the same time, I kind of wish that like I could do more, you know? I don't know.
I definitely
Yeah.
empathize with that. I just want to stress we see you. You know, I mean, there's definitely stuff going on. And your school is probably in, you know, triage mode right now, trying to get by. And they might be saying things or sending messages that they shouldn't, but like we see each of you as important teachers, regardless of what you teach, where you teach, who you teach. And I think some people might forget that through this, but we definitely see you. Please remember that through this time.
I want to plug if you have to use your phone, like your cell phone, to do things, set yourself up a Google Voice number, because you want it not to be your phone, but it to be another number. So think about that.
It's super helpful and free and easy.
And free. And I used to use Google Translate to translate into Spanish. I'm sure it was bad and not, you know, accurate, but it was closer to whatever I could do.
Sure.
Sometimes
In
for
a
those
moment.
conversations, it's easier to copy paste. You can use Google Voice on your computer, which is cool. It doesn't text, but
That's cool.
sweet. Awesome. Cool. Leslie, you want to move to that next bullet? I know you've got sort of a flow going
Can
on
I?
here. Yeah, sure. Sarah,
Sorry.
please share. That'd be great. Thank you.
I just both Christina and Casey were in my group along with David, and I did want to give a shout out to Christina. I took a lot of notes because I was not really able to contribute to the discussion, but I was able to obtain a lot of information. She said that instead of Google Translate, because that was what I did with some of my emails, she recommended Spanish Dict, like maybe like dictionary. It translates a little better. And then she also was able to you know, I think her topic was poetry for that session, but do something in Spanish and English, which I thought was really cool. The poem was in both Spanish and English, and it went through the entire like Mayan, Aztec kind of culture. So again, like maybe I'm teaching engineering, which is more like science, mathematics, but sometimes I feel like it's really important to find some of these other resources, like that you can use to like translate for both, as well as the different types of tools. So not just Google Translate, which is like my go-to. And then engineering's been very hands-on. So Casey had mentioned doing like breakout rooms, maybe showing videos. And then I think it was also Christina that talked about if there are any ELL tutors at your school, maybe they can help either translate the video or, you know, like help out in that respect. But yeah, I'm feeling kind of lost at how to teach my class. And so they had some really good suggestions for me at least. So I really appreciate their like contributions.
Awesome. And that translation website was shared in the chat. If you want to hit that, the link is there. Christina, mad props. Thanks for sharing that stuff with us. Great idea. Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys. And one of the things that I was thinking that someone else brought up that maybe would be a good transition point too is that a strategy we learned that I thought was really important was grouping and intentionally putting students on specific skill points. So I think that's something that online will make a lot easier because we can get those groups established prior to going back and kind of target them in Zoom groups and work on building and establishing those specific skills that we already know those kids need. So it'll just further progress in that way. So we can target much better.
Sounds awesome. Sounds awesome. And it goes without saying, and I think we've said in the emails as well, you know, Leslie and I, our job is to teach online, and we may not do it perfectly, but we have a lot of resources and ideas. So please use us. We'd love to help you out in any way.
I'm going to move us. So a few of you are already online, and you go by the seat and get it all put together soon. But I have asked Heidi and Josh just to share a couple of like what were some of their parameters, how did they manage to get everything from what they were doing in class, online, kind of how it's going, what a day looks like, things like that. So thank you, Heidi and Josh, for volunteering or letting me volunteer you to share. Take it away, Heidi.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Heidi. I teach at a small private school. I teach physics to juniors and seniors. I teach 9th grade biology, and I teach 8th grade algebra. So all really easy to translate to online. So I've been having a tough a tough time. Our school uses Google Classroom, and so the platform that we've been using then is Google Meet as our online meeting place. Oh, sorry, okay. So we basically, the parameters were we tested Google Meet in our classes on the last week of school, which was, I tested it for 5 minutes on Thursday, the 12th of March. And then on Thursday night, they told us we were going to be online by Tuesday. So essentially we had 2 work days to prepare. And I spent most of that weekend sort of in a panic and really not able to do much of anything productive. So I did a lot of scrambling at the last minute. As I said, we use Google Classroom. So the way that they want us to do it is to post something on Google Classroom to all of our classes every day. Not always an assignment, but like if there's a long-term assignment, just a reminder, like keep working on project A. And then our Meet days are set up, every class was assigned either an A or B day. So no class has a virtual meeting every day. The idea, and they really thought about, they didn't want kids and the teachers, I guess, to sit in front of a computer for the same number of hours that they would be sitting in a desk at school. That's just not good for anybody. So I sort of alternate days that I can meet with my students. We have up to 1 hour and 15 minutes in each Meet session, but it's up to every teacher to decide how to use that. So this week, just last week, I had some quizzes that were pending, and so I went ahead and did those. And this week I did a couple lectures where I had my PowerPoint presentation on my computer, and I just I shared that with them, and they followed along and took some notes and interrupted. I think that's all. Tomorrow I'm actually going to try to model a lab. And we'll see how that goes. I bought a new one to use with the students for mitosis, and I didn't get a chance to use it. So I'm going to use my floor and try to play with the little chromosomes and hope that they can get something out of it. And I think that's the biggest challenge that I have with this, if it goes for the rest of the year, is my feeling that I'm not, I can scramble something together, but it is not going to be biology or physics, because you can't do that without getting your hands dirty and doing. And my physics class is a conceptual physics class, and so it's really hard to sort of, my favorite part of the class is they get to just play with like air hockey pucks and see what collisions look like, and you know, I don't know how. I have a pool table at home, so I'm going to try to use some pool balls and model collisions that way. But it's the virtual labs are the hard part, and math, which is my other subject, is just it's hard to type your math answers on a, like, I can give them. They've been doing math on paper and taking pictures and emailing it to me, and that's fine and that's better. But like, you can't type math. It's not, it doesn't, I don't know. I just think my brain doesn't work that way anyway. So I think that's my biggest challenge, is really how to make this, if this goes beyond, our spring break is the first week of April. So I have this week and next week. If it goes beyond that, I don't know how I'm going to really manage to teach them well. for the rest of the year.
Heidi, I just want to remind you that, like, I know that you're taking this really seriously, but don't feel bad if you're not delivering the best class experience ever, because this is not normal, nor like you only having 2 days to prepare. Like, I've prepared and executed online classes for a university. It takes months to really put together a good class, and that's like histories and humanities that works really well with online, not like things that are more challenging like science. I mean, there are online labs, but those take a while to develop and to get, so you're very hard on yourself, and I just want you to remember that it's, you know, you're doing your best and that's all that you can do, and to not hate yourself for not being like the #1 teacher. I'm doing math too. I'm doing the Khan Academy because I'm figuring like if students can do this and take other resources, they're gonna love seeing your pool table. They're gonna love it. So definitely like keep thinking of like weird stuff like that, and they'll love it. So
Thank
you got this. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Heidi, for sharing your experiences so far. And it's true. I think it's probably, kids like to see their teacher. That's what my daughter is like. Her friend called to say, you know, we don't get to have 8th grade graduation. And Allie's thought was, but I really want to see my teachers. So just that you're there and they can see you and engage with you is awesome.
Thanks.
All right. So my school has been set up a little differently. So we are not allowed to do any live video or anything. So everything has to be pre-recorded and done. And the reasoning behind that is to preserve teacher privacy. So they're like, no actual live video. We have to be at our computer from 9 to 12 to be able to instantaneously communicate with students during that period. And so everything that's been set up has been to essentially materials that they can use to self-move through. And a few things that I noted that have been really helpful is keeping things really simple, but also keeping it familiar. So how I've been doing that in my environmental science class, we do a lot of debates on topics. One that we're currently doing online now is on genetically modified organisms. And typically how that looked was they'd spend a day in class gathering source material on their opinion on a question. And then they would take it and work over the week for creating a CRE paper. And then they come back to class with that paper and use it for their debate. And to make it simpler is I chunked it up so that there was very specific parts they had to complete each day, so that by the end of the week, they had still the same thing that they would have developed before, but it was in smaller chunks so that the instructions could be clear and easy. And the goal was students, for us, they want them working in our class at least 30 minutes a day is kind of their time goal. But have it still be like quality time spent. If students don't have assignments specifically every day, they have to still submit something like an out ticket to be marked for attendance. So that way they've still engaged somehow with it. But Heidi, I have some awesome resources for labs though that I've used in my classroom before all this mess periodically when we didn't have materials, but I've found have worked really well is it's called PhET, P-H-E-T.
Oh, I love those. Yeah,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, they're great.
Their website, they recently updated, and under usually each of those activities, there's now like a plethora of worksheets that were designed to use that PhET for all different classes. Like I did a gas laws lab on Friday last week, and the kids really liked it. I got a few emails like, this was really fun, and they completed the step-by-step for it, and we're still learning the properties of a gas in a lab-like situation, even though, you know, we weren't in a classroom with cool measurement instruments and whatnot. They still got a lot out of it. So
I do use the PhETs, and they are great. They're better for physics. They don't have as many cool bio ones.
Yeah, bio's the hard one.
But yeah, they have a few. They have a great evolution one, but yeah, I actually assigned one of those this week. So
cool.
Those still work online.
But all the activities I've done is I've tried to just mirror them off of what I was already doing. In chemistry, we did that FET. I usually model like 2 or 3 problems and then have them, we usually would work together on a couple problems, and then I'd have them work independently. For this, I've actually been using a lot of our strategies we talked about this last month or so, in the sense that since I don't have any live access to them, I've done the independent, not independent, me modeling the 2 problems, and then I've set up 2 problems that have been like partially done with a bunch of notes on them to be the we together doing it, and then they have their independent problems, and that's been pretty successful so far.
That's cool.
So, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, it's definitely been interesting. Some of my classes have been a lot easier to translate. Like environmental science and was the easiest, with forensics being my hardest, because that was literally a class where all we did was labs every day and had very little anything else involved in that. But I think it's going pretty well for having like 72 hours to put something out before we started. So
I have a question for you too, because Dane and I kind of have this issue too. So how are you kind of putting parameters around your own time, so that I know kids can email you whenever, but are you keeping like your schedule in the day and then deal with it the next day? Because it can get like out of control because you're responding to things. So just want to see how are you managing that part?
the first 3 days, not at all. I don't think I even really slept. I was so busy trying to put material together and get things ready. By Friday, though, I was like, I can't do that. So I cut it off at like the normal. I usually leave work at 3:30, so I'm not touching the computer for school. And I even deleted my Gmail app off of my phone, so I wouldn't be tempted to look at it and help quick problems until the next morning.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm actually, I think, doing better because my kids are home with me. Doing better at, during that, my husband's also working from home, so I'm in the basement and he's upstairs, and we keep our spaces. And I've been making sure that I shut off. I work in and out during the day. When I'm online, but then I'll come and check in on the kids. And then at night, I try to shut off, but I generally work a lot all the time during normal school life. So, but because my kids are here and they're bored too, I cut it off at like 7 or 8 o'clock and go spend a few hours with them. But I'm a workaholic, so I don't know that I'm really a good example.
Something to consider though. So think about ways to protect your time, because you're a human person too that needs off time. Okay, I think I'm gonna move. Any more questions? Okay, now we're gonna give you some time to talk together. So thinking about what is going online, you just saw 2 versions. What does it mean for you? Do you know yet? Have you had those meetings? I know Littleton Public Schools hasn't figured it out yet. They're going to meet with their teachers on Monday to try to figure that out, as if you could have one day to put it all together, 48 or 72 hours, whatever that looks like. But what are the systems and platforms that you'll use? Do you know yet? How will you connect with students, those meeting patterns and what that might look like, how your day looks like, and how do you protect your personal time? So make sure that you have, we always do these group things, but make sure you have a recorder in your group so that when we come back together, we can share some of those ideas. And Dane and I are going to script them for you so that when we're done, you have like a plate to start with. That's the hope.
All right. Re-breakout. Is that right? Cool. All right. You're going to go into the same room. Kirti, when you jumped off, you might still be in the room with me. I might have to re-put you in, but here we go. All right, I'm gonna stick you in. You were in 4, is that right? Before, or I think you were in 4. Yep, I'll get you there. Thanks. You should have gotten an invite now, I think. Cool. Thank you. Right now, the longer, like if you can have that recorded, it's great to have like makeup for people that missed it or whatever.
Okay.
Yep, cool. All right, folks are coming back in here. We're gonna finish up here real quick once everybody gets in. All right, Leslie, you want to launch us, and I'll take notes on that document. Cool.
So here we are. So lots of things we talked about, lots of different ways it looks and going to look in people's classrooms and some of the tools that they're using. What did you hear in some of your groups that you think might be helpful for others?
I got something that is making sure that the material can be self-guided even if you have access to live portions of the class, like that the instructions are full enough to be able to drive student learning even with you not there.
Hmm.
And then the question that I keep thinking about, if my daughter has an IEP, is, oh my. So what does that support look like? And how are we thinking about supporting our kids with IEPs?
I mean, right now you can really give as much time as they need to complete the assignments, and I think that that's great. And they're and a lot less pressure right now than they would have been if they would be in a classroom. So I think actually in this environment it might be better for them because if the teacher can provide clear instructions, clear things, what is expected, then those kids just gonna enjoy it and just perform great.
I think the big thing though is that it's not just extended time that IEP students need. It's a lot more hands-on kind of interactions that they need, and we just physically cannot reach that right now. I do know that like for Denver public schools that they have received guidance for IEPs and students who are bilingual. So that will be rolling out, I know, in DPS schools, but they haven't shared with me just yet exactly what that's going to look like. And they said they'll be coming later this week. But I think for IEPs, yeah, it's much more than just extended time. It's a lot more hands-on.
As an IEP parent, because I have 2 IEPs in my family, it's actually harder. It's much harder to have my dyslexic son at home and to try and teach him. I mean, yes, I'm a teacher and it's what I do, but it's harder on him. It's a lot harder on him. He's used to the support and having the kids around him to keep him going. He doesn't have that. And so the IEPs worry me that they're going to actually fall behind. And some of them are already behind because their parents don't. I mean, even as a teacher, I know he's not getting the education that he could at school because I'm busy teaching 50 other students. So,
well, unlike the parents in perhaps in this chat, like some of the IEP students that I have, the problems that they have that require an IEP are because of their home life. So they are stuck there. For some of those students, they are stuck there now. And figuring out a way to have a lesson be a temporary safe space or an escape even is, that's been rolling through my mind during this whole conversation. I mean, it's like, what do you do with for those kids?
I like your that word you just used, like escape. So, and I'm thinking about, Heidi's pool table. So what kind of bizarro fun things can you have kids think about? That's a good one to think about. Thank you.
I do have to say, for me, the silver lining of all of this, which is a horrible thing to say, but just to acknowledge it, is that CMAS got canceled. And so, like, my poor sixth graders were on because I came in mid-year because their original teachers left in September, and they didn't get me in there until like the end of November. We were doing some death march to CMAS kind of thing, and just basically like the students every day had to learn something and to be working hard, and they were exhausted. So I am so happy that CMAS is done, and like students will no longer feel like they have to hate math because they're not getting it at the pace, unfortunately, we had to set for that. So I'm like, yes, this is great. This is great. I hate standardized testing. Woo! So yeah, that's where I'm coming from on that. But new challenges.
I hate it too. I'm so glad it's done. Does anybody have a burning tip they wanted to throw out? I want to keep us on time just to make sure that we can end, like we told you, at 6:30. But if you have a burning one, throw it out. We want to hear it.
Just a general observation, because I just started doing this last week and then we immediately jumped into spring break, is just my experience has been that like I feel like planning actually takes a lot longer. And so just be wary of like how long, if you haven't started yet, you know, maybe try to get a sense of how much time you can and should actually devote to making sort of resources accessible online. Because you know, my experience was prior to this, I already had lots of resources, so I could, you know, print out things that I've been using in the past and like, oh, this is what we're doing for this lesson, this is what we're doing for that lesson. And then having to sort of transport everything just took a significantly greater amount of time. So that's just a thing to be aware of.
Cool. Thanks, Alberto. Sweet. Let's hit that next slide, Leslie. Cool. So I think this goes back to what Alberto said right here, this first one. Try to keep it simple. I think I was telling Brandon, who was here just a second ago when you guys were in the groups, if I were doing it, I would probably do asynchronous. I would probably have a Google Doc with a video. I would probably have like 3 tasks in the Google Doc. I would ask them to complete that over the week. You know, more videos, that's cool. If you, that link, the third link down, my grammar approach, we don't have to open that right now. But what I did is to differentiate, I recorded videos that my students could watch on their laptops actually in my classroom with headphones, but it was me walking them through different work with like pronouns or sentence fragments or whatever it was. I taught writing, so you could amend that to your own. But you can kind of see how I do that. It was actually hella fun. Like it was a blast for me to make those videos, and it's cool that they're there now too. I can still share those with, you know, past students or, you know, other people that I'm working with too. So something like that could even be like a very easy approach. I reference in there like a notebook, that we had a notebook in class, but you could easily just have them write or do what they're doing in a Google Doc, share it with you, you can check it. But keep it simple if you can. We also have a bunch of resources that we've been cobbling together, shared from CU Denver, shared from other teachers. This is sort of our Aspire list of remote learning resources. Tons and tons and tons of things there. I don't know about y'all, I'm getting a little like a resourced out, so don't feel like you got to click on all that stuff. It seems like every tweet, every email, every something I see is try this new resource, and like that can create a lot of dissonance too. So we don't share that, meaning like you got to go through it all. But if you're stuck, use a resource. But if you have a simple approach you feel confident in, you might not get stuck as much. So that's kind of what we're thinking. That's what we've got. We would love to be a thought partner in this. Like we said, this is our job. We do this full time and get paid to do it. So we'd love to help you do it. But let's look forward real quick, Leslie, just so folks know what's coming up.
Oh, and I want to just make a blanket apology for Power School. I don't know if you get the kitten and it says, I'm a little tangled up right now. If you get the kitty, it's bad news.
It's the only kitten I've ever hated.
Sorry, it's like, I have to have 6 things open at the same time and work on something else while I'm waiting for something to unload. So I apologize.
Cool. We sent out the updated syllabus. I think I sent that out this week. I updated the Google Calendar as well. I think I got that all right. That was a bit more complicated than I thought it would be. But basically, here's what we got. Zacchaeus is quoting me, saying that's the only kitten I ever hated was that Tangled kitten. It's true. This is what's coming up.
I had to say something. I'm
exactly.
sorry.
No, okay. I love it. That said, we've given these as sort of like, these will keep you on track through this time. We realize there's a heck of a lot of stress. We realize it's a hard time to be doing what you're doing. We realize it's hard to be apart from your kids. You might be apart from your family. That's really, really hard. If you need to press pause on this stuff for your own mental health and your own sanity, We totally get that. We totally advocate that. Just let us know when you think you want to make it up. We'll work with you on it. It's cool. We've got the whole summer to figure it out too. We'll be together next semester too. We've got time. That's what I want to stress. We will work with you. We'll make sure that we get through this. This is unprecedented, really weird, really stressful, but we will make it work. We promise. Anything you want to add, Leslie?
I want to add just this last slide is I didn't put it in Spanish. I should have put it in Spanish as well. But a poem by Pablo Neruda. He was kind of a jerk of a person, but he really is beautiful with words. So I love this. I found it in an article, and I just think it's so relevant for now as we're social distancing and in our homes, just to find the beauty in being at home and stopping. And I know that I've loved it actually to be for a while. So just wanted to leave you with this one.
I just wanted to say, I heard a radio station in New York that I listen to all the time. Instead of calling it social distancing, they called it physical distancing, just because they said we all still need the social. Even if it's virtual, it's the physical distance that we need to maintain. So as we kept saying social distancing a few times, and I've been thinking about that today, because it's one of the things I like about being able to Google, like check in with my kids live, is that I still get to hear their voices and say, like, did you get outside today, and get a breath of fresh air and see the sun. And I think that's important.
And honestly, like, we didn't share anything tonight that was super groundbreaking. We just wanted to see you and think it's important. We can maintain this tradition, right? This was an online tradition. It didn't really get shaken by the virus that much, which is cool. And like, that's why I wanted to do this, to see you guys and feel a little bit of normalcy in very unnormal times.
And just remember that we're here, always. Reach out.
Yep.
Hey, I had a quick question about the schedule. Maybe I missed it, but are we skipping over Unit 7?
We are.
Okay.
That one, I mentioned that in an email. It might have gotten lost. I put a lot of info in there. It's about a survey of your kids, and like it's a beautiful module. It just seemed really kind of pointless doing it this way.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Yep, so
I
we
just
are
wanted to make sure I was on the clear page of that. So
you're correct. Yeah, cool. And if you ever have confusion like that, please reach out. We'll clear it up. We realize changing syllabus and schedule, that's a pain. And it's kind of stressful, but we thought it was needed given this. So please reach out if you ever are confused. We'll help you out. Cool. We've got some good stuff in the chat. Wales shared some band names. If you want to share anything else in the chat, please do. Otherwise, go ahead. Feel free to jump off. I'll stay on for a few minutes. I got to get off here in a few seconds to do some family things. We'll stay on for just a few seconds. But the main thing is take care of yourself. You can't take care of your kids if you can't take care of yourself. So
nice to see all of you.
Yep. Thanks so much.
Have a good night.
All right. We'll see you.
Good night. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.